Katic is obviously moving along nicely. He's had an update off the surgeon again in the last few days. George Edmondson has had a small procedure done around the hernia area, so he'll be missing for 3 to 4 weeks. Scott Arfield's progressing well. Has stepped his rehab up in terms of the gym and activities that he's doing, so he's in a positive place. Kemar Roof should be back in full training in the middle of next week, all being well. Ryan Jack is back with the group now. He's done his first full session with the group yesterday. He'll train again this morning, so we welcome him back. That's a big boost for everyone. Will he be involved against Motherwell is a decision I'll make probably after today's session. That might be one we have to be patient for a little bit longer with, but he is back in the group and for sure he'll be involved next week, but we'll see how he looks this morning before we make a decision on Motherwell.
Steve Davis obviously set to make his 300th appearance at the weekend. When you brought him in, obviously as an older head, has he even surpassed your expectations of how much an influence he would have on the group?
In certain ways, yes, but as a footballer, no. He's someone who I've competed against more than enough. He's someone who I've obviously watched very closely for many years before I got the opportunity to work even closer with Stephen. So from a football point of view, no, I knew he was a top professional, I knew he was a competitor and a wonderful footballer. But when you work with someone on a daily basis and you see how they go about their routine, you see the focus, you see how low maintenance they are, and the sacrifices they make to be the best version of themselves. Stephen is really at the forefront of that. So in many ways, yes, he has surprised me, but not as a footballer or the level that I know he can play at, because I knew that firsthand from competing against him.
Hi Stephen. Derek told us that you'd spoken to him about Scott Wright. I appreciate he's a player at another club, but I wondered if there's a deal to be done, you're keen for that deal to be done in this window?
I think what we're keen to do is to do everything right and be respectful to Aberdeen and Derek, and also Scott as well. Things are progressing well in terms of trying to get it tied up for next season. I think that's the priority. Had a conversation with Derek after our game, which I felt was the right time to do it. We didn't want it to interfere with either side's preparations going into that game. And if it can be done in this window, that would be a bonus and a boost to us. Having said that, we want to be respectful to the opposition and Scott himself. So I need to leave that now to the people that talk above me in terms of the Aberdeen board and Rangers board. If something can be done, then great. If not, the priority for me is to get it tied up for next season.
Stephen, just following on from that, obviously Ross McCrory is going to join in Aberdeen at the end of the season. Is there something within his deal that could be worked around, perhaps bringing Scott to the club this month, or are those two completely separate issues in your view?
Listen, I think boards talk, the money men will talk, and I'm sure in the conversations they'll have everything on the table in terms of possibilities to try and get this done in the coming weeks. There's different options. There's a possibility of maybe one of our players going the other way. There's a possibility of cash up front, and I don't know where the Ross McCrory deal lies in terms of what needs to be done and what doesn't need to be done, but I'm sure that's another possibility as well. But as I say, the main thing here is to do things right and properly. That's the reason why I had the conversation with Derek. There was already talks above myself and Derek prior to that conversation. So look, it's a case of us respecting the situation where it's at. If a deal can be done in the short term, great from my point of view. If not, we might have to be patient and wait for the summer. But we are extremely close in terms of having it done for the summer.
Hello, Stephen. Just looking ahead to Sunday, what do you expect from Motherwell with our new manager in charge?
Well, look, a manager always goes in and tries to put his own stamp on things. Normally you get a bit of a bounce and a boost, and you galvanise your players, and people normally get a fresh start and a fresh slate to work from. I'm not sure how they seen the result against St Mirren, but to go away from home in this league and get a point seems like a positive result for a start. And I'm sure they're going to be trying to do everything they can to try and derail us and try and be the first team to beat us from a league point of view this season. So we expect a tough challenge, and we'll certainly respect a new manager going in, and things can be slightly different, and we have to be ready to adapt to whatever's thrown at us. But our focus and our preparation has been majority on us and where we're at and what we need to do to try and get the 3 points. But it's certainly something we're looking forward to, going down to Fair Park, and we're looking forward to the challenge ahead.
Morning, David. There's been a lot of talk recently about players celebrating maybe being banned under COVID protocols. Is that something you've had to speak to your players about over the last week or so?
I will do that, Mark, in the coming, probably within the next hour and a half. We've got a meeting this morning before we go out to train, and it's something that's come through this week in terms of reminders, in terms of the protocols, and obviously goal celebrations and fist pumping and other things have been issued, and reminders to try and follow them protocols. So again, we'll do our best. I think people need to understand that I don't think it'll be perfect at the weekend in terms of everyone. It's something that we're probably going to have to adapt to and get better at, because scoring a goal and celebration and the emotional side of the game is difficult to control and be perfect at. But we'll do everything we can to follow the rules, and we'll do everything we can to be at the forefront to try and set the standard in terms of that. And the plan is to reiterate them messages to the players this morning.
Hi Stephen. Aside from Scott Wright, are you confident that you'll be able to get any other business done this month?
Look, I think it's you never say never in these situations, because things can change pretty quickly. I don't foresee any more additions, but I do know that there's quite a bit of interest around some of our players as well. So that'll also depend on who goes out the door, what we decide to do in terms of incomings. As I said previously in the interview, if we could get Scott in the door, that would be a major boost and something that we would welcome. But I don't think we're in a situation where we need to make many additions where we are right now. But I do predict there will be movement in the coming weeks, because the phone is starting to warm up in terms of interest in our own players. So I can't give you any names or anything that's going on privately, but there is definitely action in the background.
Last week against Aberdeen, for large parts of the game, the team played, I thought, absolutely superbly. And is this the time of the season where if you like, almost the pre-season work kicks in, because there was a freshness about the side last week?
I think having the full week to prepare in terms of our energy and our organisation, I think for large periods of the game you could really see the benefits of that, having some training ground time and having a couple of days off to really re-energise the team and the squad. In terms of what we work on pre-season, it's something we try and maintain all the way through the season. But you could see quite clearly for large periods of the game our domination, our organisation, how we wanted to play. We had a couple of real big players in top form at the weekend. I thought our front players were really dangerous. I thought the movement was at a high level for the majority of the game. At 2-0 we sort of come off our standards a little bit. We never adapted in the game to the scoreline, and we had a couple of nervy moments within that. But I think now analysing the game and debriefing the game, to go up to Aberdeen on the back of an old firm and win the game and dominate for large periods, I have to give the players a lot of credit for that, because it's a tough fixture anyway, but to go up there in New Year on the back of an old firm, and obviously leading into that game the talk was that Aberdeen were going to be different and they had everyone available and fit and ready. I thought we were really good and really strong on the day for the majority of it.
Hi Stephen, just go back to Jack, just with his injury sort of record over the last couple of seasons, is his load something you're going to have to manage over the remainder of the season, just to make sure you can steer away from any more sort of niggles that keep him out of the team?
Look, we've always tried to monitor the load of all the players. Players are all different in different areas in different ways. Some players are very robust and can churn out games no problem. They recover really quick. Some players need a little bit more attention in terms of recovery and offloading at the right times. Jacko's a difficult one because he's so important. He's a player we rate very much. I don't think I have to go on record to tell you guys what I think of him and what we think of him because I've done it so many times. His consistency levels have been superb. So it is a difficult one because you want him in the team as much as possible and he wants to be in the team as much as possible, but it's something that we've spoke to Ryan about. It's something we've had conversations with Steve Clarke about, and the reality is that Ryan does need looking after different than some other players, and it's something we'll try and keep an eye on and try and make him available as much as we can because he's so important to both club and country, especially at this stage.